Hey, this is the Geoff and Gena show. This is Berkeley Jeff,
And this is Berkeley Gena.
and we're going to be discussing the precedent being set on commuting a life sentence for a brother, Napoleon Brown. You see, this Napoleon Brown is been convicted of murder, carjacking, and robbery, and happens to be the brother of the mayor,
The Mayoral Penguin.
Nicole.
Nicole, the San Francisco Mayoral Penguin, to be exact.
Now, after 2 years of failed and misguided governance in San Francisco during a global pandemic, why does the mayor of San Francisco, who we call by her ghetto name, Nicole, the mayoral penguin, feel the need to get her murderous thief of a brother resentenced for an earlier release when he's supposed to be in prison for at least 44 years, half of it which he has served? The woman he's accused of killing was his girlfriend, who was in the car when he pushed her out of it while speeding to escape after a carjacking and a robbery on the Golden Gate Bridge, speeding at high speeds, and pushed her out of the car. Keeps going, and she was hit by a drunk driver, crashed into a closed lane where she had landed. Gena, does it sound right to you that the mayor's brothers should get leniency for such a cold-hearted crime?
Well, San Francisco's cold enough as it is all year round. So to add murder, robbery, and carjacking to the inclement weather on top of getting hit by a drunk driver and staying alive long enough to identify your killer to the police before you leave the earth, there is definitely a pot of karma credits being cashed in somewhere. I don't know why Nicole feels Napoleon is entitled to clemency when he showed no mercy to his dead girlfriend, Lentise White.
Now, according to San Francisco Chronicle, on June 19th, 2000, or Black People's Halloween, Juneteenth, Lentise White was on the cold, dark roadway in the middle of the Golden Gate Bridge for less than half a minute before a drunk driver veered into a closed lane and struck and killed her. She was just alive enough time to give the police the information to who pushed her out of the car. And this was, of course, following a Marine District robbery. She got out of the driver's seat or was pushed, supposedly.
It was at the Johnny Rockets in
the Johnny Rockets.
in the Marine
Wow.
District. Yeah.
A very expensive place. A detailed
Good burgers, though. Good burgers.
Expensive burgers.
Yeah.
A detailed account of what led up to her death that early morning in June 2000 secured a conviction and then faded from memory until the case became renowned years later, not for its own merits, but its link to the powerful. The man convicted in White's death was Napoleon Brown. His sister, London Nicole Breed, went on to become mayor of San Francisco.
Now that's how the story begins. Did Nicole really want to be San Francisco's mayor, or did she need that position just to get her brother off?
I remember when we heard Nicole, the mayoral penguin, on the steps of City Hall state in a speech she delivered that criminals were her friends.
Mm-hmm.
It was a small crowd. We have a clip of her speech right here.
And support and respect. Be afraid. We cannot operate in fear. In San Francisco of Africa, we have to stay encouraged and we cannot let up. For who's believing in what? This is about changing the future of this city, especially on Black. Any leader in this city.
That's her right there in a nutshell.
The rest of the SF Chronicle describes an ongoing saga of Napoleon and his sister Nicole rehashing this Juneteenth horror story after she terrorized and destroyed people and their businesses with her anger towards her brother's rightful incarceration. All the homeless people in San Francisco will tell her that her brother is not safe on the streets because once he starts bragging about what his sister did for him, everyone will remember she had no beds for the homeless at wintertime, as ECS promised she would to get them out of the cold at night.
And the ECS we're talking about is Episcopal Community Services. I mean, I think they did a horrible job at with all the property that they own.
And should be audited.
They should be audited. They did a horrible job with managing the homelessness situation, and I think it was a complete waste of money. But anyway, so getting back to the SF Chronicle article, right? It said, quote, nearly 2 decades after the case went to trial, that fateful night on the bridge came back into focus when Brown asked for the court, that's Napoleon Brown, asked for the court to reconsider his 44-year sentence for manslaughter. And as those details resurfaced, so do questions about what exactly happened and who was at fault. So Anna Gonzalez, who was the lead prosecutor in the case, argued against granting Napoleon Brown a new sentence. And she said, quote, "We think that he was the actual killer," she said at an October hearing in the resentencing. She further said, quote, "If a person throws someone in front of a train, they are the actual killer."
Nicole, the mayoral penguin, can't take no for an answer.
That's true.
To that anyway. She doesn't see that both she and Napoleon sprouted from the same demon egg patch that fertilized indiscriminately these two wayward seeds, plaguing Gotham City by the bay.
Exactly. The resentencing review peers into Napoleon's intent and culpability, which can be repeated as a learned behavior.
It's a pop quiz with 4 questions that are not multiple choice, but 2 yes or no answers only, and 2-word problems. Number 1, did Napoleon Brown push his girlfriend out of the car?
Yes.
Number 2, was he responsible for her death moments later from being struck by a drunk driver?
Yes.
Number 3, what did her last words mean in terms of Brown's responsibility?
The police got an ID from the victim right before the victim passed away.
Number 4, what role did police play in the fatal outcome?
They arrested Napoleon Brown and charged him with murder of Miss White. That's a closed case for the Court of Appeals. All the evidence points to Napoleon's guilt that night.
There are still substantial legal doubts. Brown's lawyer, Mark Silversmith, said in San Francisco Superior Court on Tuesday, where he made his case about the nature of the role his client played in Napoleon's girlfriend's death. Complicating the matter was the timing of the review. Though filed in 2019, some key proceedings in Brown's resentencing came up shortly after Mayor Breed named Brooke Jenkins San Francisco District Attorney, a conflict that sparked concerns about whether someone appointed by Brown's sister could handle the case with fairness.
Yeah, so anyway, the next question is, what does District Attorney Brooke Jenkins owe the mayor for appointing her as the replacement for Chesa Boudin? The motive is clear that it's time to cash in on the karma credits and pressure Jenkins into resentencing her brother, Napoleon's manslaughter case, to a lesser sentence or time served.
Judge Brendan Conroy allowed the case proceed as long as Jenkins stayed far from prosecuting it, and is set to rule on whether to reduce Napoleon's sentence under a new law that narrowed the definition of felony murder. How do you redefine felony murder without it being unlawful? A resentencing review will open up a Pandora's box that will be difficult to close, especially after Governor Newsom, the prisoner's Christmas before last.
Yeah, he set them free, and they took a bus into town and spent Christmas 2021 in tents in the freezing cold and on the streets of San Francisco. We saw how that turned out. It was hard to clean up the streets, eh? So that's when they realized they were safer in prison. The prisoners now realized they were safer within prison walls than on the streets of San Francisco, battling that genocide in a pandemic ghost town.
Freezing cold ghost town. Now, if they survived the fentanyl and meth drug abuse epidemic, they were lucky. You have to be strong to survive the SF street life, where the governor is the conductor and the mayor is the motorman.
So, it's a good one. So Judge Conroy was set to make a final ruling on March 6, 2023. However, it's March 10th and nothing has been ruled as yet.
So we'll just have to see what was decided once the court meets again. This is not over yet. And this brings us to the end of episode 3. And until next time, enjoy your blessings. And from Berkeley, Geoff.
And Berkeley, Gena.
Take care.
Bye.